When it comes to folk tales and local lore, the Hudson Valley is legendary. Welcome to Beerfront Studios. Today we're going to be making a special journey, Hauntings of New York, our first stop. From Rip Van Winkle in the Catskill Mountains to UFO sightings in Pine Plains, the valley has more than its fair share of otherworldly locations. Nowhere is this more obvious than Sleepy Hollow and Tarrytown. Thanks to Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. We'll be right back after this silly commercial break. Oh my god. Fire, I forget to scream fire in the hole. Anyway. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. The Westchester locals have developed quite the reputation for chills and thrills around Halloween time. Rumors of headless horseman sightings surge amid visits to 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗 Manor, which we will be doing our first stop. Were those sounds just bumps in the night, or could they be rumbles of the horseman's steed on moonlit escapades across the valley? With tall tales galore in the region, Chronicles of Tarrytown and Sleepy Hollow by 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗𝙗 explores the history and legends that define the Hudson Valley to this day. 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗 Manor. Wander along the woodland path and enter the year 1750, when 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗 Manor was a thriving milling and trading complex that was home to 23 enslaved individuals of African descent. Sent Vincent a working grits mill and learn about the work of Caesar, the enslaved African miller. Tour the manor house, with period artifacts and touchable reproductions bring to life the story of the 𝙁𝙗𝙗𝙗 family and enslaved community. Following Henry, Hudson's Dutch founded exploratory voyage in 1609. The first settlers in New York City area were Dutch. In the early 1600s, they planted roots along the Hudson River quilt foundations. Now, let's step into the Headless Horseman Bridge. The Headless Hessian turned horseman. The Headless Horseman of Headless Hessian, as he is also known, has been seen riding from the old Dutch cemetery to the bridge at midnight. People have also claimed that there are feelings of uneasiness. They hear voices coming from the bridge and the sounds of a galloping horse. Before Washington Irving penned the terrifying persona of the Headless Horseman, chances are he found inspiration from the form of the Headless Hessian, a Revolutionary War character thought to haunt Westchester County. The Headless Horseman was based off a Hessian artilleryman who had his head blown off by a cannonball, not these balls, during the American Revolution. It just so happens that this incident happened on Halloween in 1776, during the Battle of the White Plains just 9 miles outside of town. It is also said he was laid to rest in the old Dutch church. The Hessian was rumored to be a terror, attacking unsuspecting locals in the early days of Hudson Valley. A few years ago, a sober and careful citizen returning from the distant saloon with a pitcher of beer, which he was expecting to drink in the bosom of his family, was dragged upon the bridge by invisible hands. Through it was clear moonlight and flung over the high parapet into the water of the Pontacchio, or what the hell does that say? Pocantico, where he swam for some time, being miraculously unable to find the shore, and was last rescued by his neighbors. Today, the Hessian has evolved into the Headless Horseman, the blood-curdling character that terrifies readers of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Our next stop will be the old Dutch church. Crunch, crunch. That's not because of my weight that you hear the leaves crunching. It's because the leaves are just dry. So let's not snap on me. And excuse me if I stuttered a couple times on word or tripped over my words. I'm just trying to make sure I do this right. So I'm overlooking the stream that runs underneath the bridge. of where the headless horseman has been sighted many times by local townspeople. That's the bridge right there. But mind you, that bridge was a wooden bridge. Obviously, it wasn't made out of stone. There wasn't cars and all that garbage around. You know, it was horse carriages, horses, and so forth. A wooden bridge. So they just replaced it with a stone structure. Obviously, I mean, it'll take a genius to figure that one out. So anyway, moving on. We are now stopping over to the old Dutch church. And no, I'm not going to jump into the water and act like I could swim, which I can. You know, my son was like, "Dad, what are you doing? I don't want you to fall in there and then, you know, and float away somewhere. You know, like in 𝙤𝙤𝙠𝙚 or something." So I'm just looking. I just want to explain to you where. It's pretty cool, right? So much going on. Is it hard to imagine? And obviously I'm doing it in the daytime, you know. And that night, we went trick-or-treating. But yeah, that's where the horseman would gallop across the bridge. And that's where a loco was thrown into the river. Anyway, moving on. Crunch, 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 crunch. Follow me. The old Dutch church, founded around 1865. This is the church and the churchyard that appear in Washington Irving's story, a short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. It is often confused with the adjacent but separate Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. It is the oldest existing church in New York. The old Dutch church of Sleepy Hollow, also known as the Dutch Reformed Church, and its 2.5-acre colonial ever burying ground served as inspiration for Washington Irving's short story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Published in 1820, Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is the first story written by an American to achieve universal acclaim. It is widely read and the subject of over a half-dozen major films. It tells a story. Next stop, Sleepy Hollow Cemetery. Sleepy Hollow Cemetery is situated on the easterly bank of the Hudson River at Tarrytown, county of Westchester, and is 14 miles north of the boundary line of New York. It is easily accessible, and its surroundings will probably protect it for centuries to come from the inevitable fate which earlier or later overtakes all burial places which check the growth of city. The church's 2.5-acre burying ground is, of course, the purported haunt of the headless horseman, and also the resting place of the author, Washington Irving, Carnegie, Chrysler, Rockefeller. There are also local citizens who likely inspired Irving's character, 𝕻𝙤𝙤𝙗, Brom Bones, and others in the legend of Sleepy Hollow. Here's a fun fact for you. Hulda the witch, Washington Irving warned in the legend of Sleepy Hollow that Sleepy Hollow was bewitched by a highly German doctor. According to local legend, this doctor, Hulda, was also a witch and was the first seen in Sleepy Hollow in 1770. The minister of the old Dutch church quickly pronounced her a witch and urged the Sleepy Hollow townspeople not to associate with her. She was known as a local healer. She was apparently shunned from the community when the minister of the old Dutch church declared her as a witch and forbid anyone from contacting her. Soon after, she died in a battle, fighting the British in the Revolutionary War, and her body was found in the woods in what is now called Rockefeller Preserve. According to legend, soldiers originally planned to leave her body there to decompose, but changed their minds and took her to Spook Rock. There, they found a Bible and some gold that was willed to the widows of the soldiers who fought in the Revolution. Ultimately, Hulda was buried in an unmarked grave at the north side of the old Dutch church that you are looking at right now. So I hope you enjoyed this tour of Sleepy Hollow. It is a great place. That's probably Hulda right now, like laughing. She almost shit my pants listening to that. I hope you enjoyed this tour. It's a great place to visit any time of the year. If you have the balls to go at night, then have fun with that. Because I urge you not to. You never know who you might run into, and maybe you will become part of the legend of Sleepy Hollow. So stay clear, stay safe, be safe, and have fun. Until the next time, this is Pure Front Studios. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and punch that notification bell. Thank you very much for watching. Is that Hulda? I don't know. You tell me. It could very well be her. That's my cameraman, by the way. Thank you very much for watching. Subscribe, bell, and next.